Despite a limited amount of screen time, there is one apostle from Berserk that I think we all can remember for a very specific reason or reasons. Reasons that we think about while we sit alone at night. Reasons that make us think those dark, wandering thoughts that no matter how hard we try, we can't get them out of our heads. As we wander through the cold, dark abyss of life, only two glorious beacons of light shine to illuminate our path. And as we draw closer towards their warm, comforting embrace, we think peaceful thoughts once more. That this may be our own little slice of heaven to wisp us away into a world no longer harsh and cruel and threatening, but instead one that gives us the pure, relaxing bliss in which we all desire. That is, of course, until reality once more strikes into place, and what we believed was our loving solace actually transforms into a fiendishly ultimate, powerful, soul-sucking monster from hell that will snap you in half like a praying mantis, devouring its prey without a second thought for your well-being, physical or mental health, a hell so fitting for those distracted by the trappings of beauty and forced to face this brutal chaos of reality. Yes, this video is about the female apostle. Now, the idea of a beautiful woman luring men to their deaths isn't anything new, but long before Pornhub and OnlyFans, there were stories in mythology featuring various female demonic entities that have existed for some time. Though I don't believe that Kentaro Miura based this apostle on anyone in particular, the sentiment is still there. The most famous example is probably the sirens, primarily from Greek mythology. Beautiful creatures that exist within or around the sea, singing songs that would comfort and intrigue sailing men, ultimately causing them to be enticed towards their death, either causing them to crash their ships into the rocks or just killing them personally. Though for some time, there wasn't any real description about their appearance, but in some interpretations, they have been given bird-like appearances as well as full bird-like bodies with just a human head. But other interpretations basically have them being very similar to mermaids, or I suppose an evil version of a mermaid, as to coincide with the whole sea and ocean aesthetic. But essentially, it is something tempting and alluring for men that, of course, would be without the sight of a woman for quite some time, and would be desiring that comforting embrace. And another famous female creature that preys on men would be the succubus. Now, I actually kind of already touched on succubus in the Incubus monster manual because they're basically the same exact thing. Just one attacks women and one attacks men. The succubus attacking men, of course. It's a demonic figure that attaches itself to you in your sleep and drains you of your sexual aura and energy. Like, literally, it survives on semen. And if you're just some demonic entity that goes around living on semen, well, maybe it's time to take a long, hard... Maybe it's time to take a long, hard look in the mirror. But really, I think the biggest influence of the unnamed female apostle comes from this right here. There's a scene in Conan the Barbarian starring my main man Arnold Schwarzenegger where he is seduced by a beautiful woman in a hut. And if you guys understand the level of Arnold's riz, I think you know that this is probably just an average day for him. Anyways, Conan starts taking this chick to Pound Town when she suddenly reveals her true demonic form. And like any self-respecting man in this instance, seeing an evil woman's true intentions, well, he goes to get about 3 more pumps in and then tosses her into the fire. I'm pretty sure Miura saw this scene and thought not only was it a brilliant display of a man saying "Begone, thought," but it also would be a great start for a dark fantasy manga. That, or maybe the first time he saw Conan, he just walked in smack dab in the middle of the scene and thought it was the beginning of the movie. Regardless, its influence is shown in the very first page of the Berserk manga, where we have Guts balls deep into some demon cheeks, letting you know right off the bat that this is going to be a story that you're going to remember forever. Now, I've gone into explicit detail about why this scene exists, and how it does follow the narrative, and the reasons why Guts would do this, considering most feel that it's very out of character. In fact, my most popular video on this channel is "Why Did Guts Clap Demon Cheeks?" That's linked below for you if you haven't seen it yet. So let's not once again go into it here. All I will say is that originally, before Miura knew where the story would be going and before the Golden Age backstory, this scene accomplishes exactly what the beginning of Berserk's tone would be. It lets the reader know right off the bat that this is an adult story that's going to get explicit and dark, and if you're not prepared for that, well, turn back now. But also that means that despite not having an official character name, the female apostle has several credentials that no other Berserk character can say that they have. Other than Guts, she is the first character that is shown in the manga, she's on the very first page, and she's the first apostle that we see. Also the first apostle transformation, and Guts' first kill in the entire Berserk manga. And that's quite the impressive legacy to have, despite not having a name and having your head blown off in the first few pages. But we would actually see this apostle again in the Golden Age arc that takes place before her initial appearance. This apostle was present at the eclipse, and famously is the one who has taken our dear beloved Corcus away from us. We don't get any semblance of her personality other than her desire to compel Corcus to come towards her before ripping his head off. Interestingly enough though, unlike many of the other apostles shown in the manga, her human form is objectively gorgeous. She's got long blonde hair, a fit body, and abs you just want to lick, or at least I do. She's got it all. Most of the apostles, even in their human forms, have this off-putting, weird, and exaggerated features about themselves, but this girl has managed to keep her good looks even after whatever sacrifice that she made. But that was probably part of her desire. Just as Rosine doesn't seem to have a full human form and always somewhat resembles an elf to fulfill her fantasy, this apostle most likely always had intended on being this siren-like creature and thus remained beautiful. It makes me wonder if, as a human, maybe she wasn't beautiful, or maybe she was screwed over by men many times and this is her chance at vengeance against that entire gender. Whatever the case, Corcus falls into her snare, and she promptly does away with him. Her apostle form, though, is really weird. It kind of looks like an alien xenomorph, a little bit. Like, it kind of looks like she has a harder ectoskeleton, but it could just be her flesh. Her mouth grows gigantic to devour her prey fully, and her arms and legs get super lengthy. But then, growing from her back, it looks like little wings, tentacles, boils, and I don't even know what else. Just a lot of weird shit's coming out of there. If anything, I would say it's very bug-like, which coincides with the praying mantis idea. She also is featured in both the '97 Berserk anime and the 2012 movies during the eclipse scenes, so you can watch her kill Corcus twice. But one really odd change is that in the third Berserk movie of the Golden Age trilogy, there's a scene where two men are supposed to see an apostle in the distance, and in the manga, they see the Snake Baron apostle. But in the movie, they see this female apostle transformed walking through the trees, but why is she so gigantic here? Like, what is this implying? When she transforms in the manga in the eclipse, she maybe doubles in size, so take her height times 2, maybe she's 9-10 feet tall. But in this scene, she's above the tree line. So what is going on? And this changes nothing about the narrative or the story, so why even do it at all? Did they just not want to animate the snake for 5 seconds? To this day, it confuses the hell out of me. But I guess you can just think that in the movie canon, the female apostle can become so gigantic that she can fulfill all of your mommy dom fantasies and step on you. When it comes to powers and abilities, it seems to be pretty self-evident. Increased size and strength, lots of ways to ensnare you and just bite your head off, sharp fangs, sharp teeth. Unclear if she can make pseudo-apostles, but it's a possibility. But she's susceptible to all of the same weaknesses as any other apostle. A strong enough blow will harm her, and as Guts proved, she can't exactly live through a cannon blast through the mouth. But the problem is, you're going to want to blast something else into her mouth, and that thought alone is going to be just enough time to distract you while she pounces and kills you. So, what is the moral of this story? Well, maybe don't let naked women distract you from your goals? Unless, of course, you are surrounded by countless demons in a hell-like dimension and you just want to spend the last few seconds of life you have burying your face in some tits. In that case, I understand. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about the female apostle down below. Maybe an underrated apostle, or just there to serve the purpose of opening the story. But to the Corcus fans out there, that opening scene gets even more justice to it, as Guts beats her at her own game, intentionally or not. and gets revenge for our favorite fallen warrior of the Band of the Hawk. We miss you, Corcus. May your light shine on forever.
I'm waiting so long. I'm waiting so long. I'm waiting so long. I'm waiting. Blowing up the storms around and turn your face to your back. In the silence of a better dream, singing to